Okay, we're live. So thank you for joining us this evening, whether you're in person in the council chambers or watching online. For those who don't know me, my name's Greg Martin. I'm the councillor for Ward 3. Dan McCurry, the other councillor, unfortunately had a conflict this evening, so he won't be able to attend. But with us tonight, we have several staff. On my right, we have Maria Versace from Communications. And we have Dave Ferguson from Traffic and Rob and Melissa from his department as well. And I believe, Dave, you have a presentation you're going to go through first. And this is based on feedback we received from a survey we sent out a while ago. So this is based on information that you and your neighbors provided us. So hopefully you'll agree with a lot of things that are in here, but we'll put it up and we'll go to questions once you've had a chance to see what's being proposed. Okay.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to come out this evening, and those online watching. It's much appreciated. So just some background. So this actually started probably late 2021 and into 2022. The councillors had asked us to take a look at some roadways, and we were receiving requests from residents in the area concerned about some traffic issues. And so what we decided to do was look at the neighborhood holistically as a complete area. As you know, or hopefully you know, we put out a survey to the neighborhood. We had over 101 responses. And based on those responses, we were able to develop a traffic management plan. Are we able to bring up the presentation? So this is a little bit busy, but I'll go through each of the roadways, and we'll be recommending to the Vision Zero Road Safety Committee at the end of May. So for Burnley Avenue, we're recommending reduced posted speed limit between Grandview and West to 30 kilometers an hour, and enhancing the existing playground area signage. And so this is part of our speed limit policy. Last year, council approved reducing speed limits on local roadways within residential neighborhoods to 40, and within school zones and playgrounds, 30 kilometers an hour. Dublin Street, enhancing the existing pedestrian crossing pavement markings by upgrading to the crossings with ladder crosswalks to increase visibility at the North Park Street, Grand Street, and Sydenham Street intersections. Install a Type D pedestrian crossover at Fulton Street to connect the neighborhood to Connaught Park. And of course, the pedestrian crossovers, I'm sure you've seen a number of them throughout the city. They're becoming more and more popular and seem to have a lot of interest from the residents to provide connection points and safe crossing points for pedestrians. When pedestrians are at the PXO, they have the right of way over traffic. Traffic is required by law to stop for you if you're trying to cross the roadway. We are also proposing to install a set of speed cushions between Dundee and North Park. Implement consistent alternate side of street parking throughout the year, and implement no parking anytime on the south side between St. Paul and Dundee. For Dundas, we're enhancing existing pedestrian crossing pavement markings, upgrading to the ladder crosswalks at the North Park Street intersection. Convert the intersection pedestrian signal at Grand to an always stop. And then survey residents to determine support for 2-hour parking and time limit exemption for residents between McClure and North Park Street. On Eastbourne, we're proposing to install an always stop at the Dundee Street intersection. This intersection has poor sight lines, and we feel it'd be advantageous to have an always stop at that location. For Fulton Street, one of the things that came out of the surveys, and I know comments from the councillors, were issues around cut through traffic, people trying to come through the area. So for Fulton, we're proposing implementing a one-way northbound traffic between Alma and Charing Cross to eliminate the cut through traffic. For Grand Street, reducing the posted speed limit between Dublin and Russell to 30 kilometers an hour and enhance the existing playground area signage. Reduce the speed limit in the designated school zone to 30 kilometers an hour between Russell and Dundas. Install a Type D PXO on Grand at Connaught Park Trail. Consider converting existing intersection pedestrian signal at Charing Cross to a full traffic control signal. And implement alternate side of street parking throughout the year between Charing Cross and Alma. For Grandview, we're proposing to reduce the posted speed limit between Sydenham and West to 30 kilometers an hour to enhance the existing playground area signage. On Kennedy Street, installing 2 sets of speed cushions between Sydenham and West Street. On North Park, install an always stop at North Park and Eastbourne. This intersection is heavily utilized by pedestrians, including students accessing Grandview Public School. Enhance the existing pedestrian crossing pavement markings by upgrading to ladder markings to increase visibility at the St. George Street intersection. Reducing the speed limit of the school zone to 30 kilometers an hour. Replace the vehicle activated traffic calming sign to reflect the new school zone speed limit to 30 kilometers an hour and increase pedestrian walk times and installed lead pedestrian phase at North Park and Charing Cross traffic control signal. So a lead pedestrian phase, we have them at several locations throughout the city. This is where the walk sign will come on while the full signal, all the signals are in red. So it gives the pedestrian the opportunity to begin their crossing without conflict of the moving vehicles. So you usually get about 5 to 7 seconds to start your walk before the signals actually are activated. For Russell Street, reduce the speed limit to 30 kilometers an hour for the playground area. Install 1 set of speed cushions mid-block between North Park and Grand. For St. George, we are recommending reduce the speed limit in the designated school zone, enhance the existing pedestrian crossing pavement markings with ladder crosswalks at the Sydenham Street intersection. For Sussex, to implement a one-way westbound traffic only between North Park and Dundee Street. The one-way westbound change to the block eliminates any cut-through traffic. On Sydenham, we'll implement a one-way southbound traffic only between Dundas and Terrace Hill. Again, to eliminate cut-through traffic. Install 1 set of speed cushions between Huff and Kennedy. Install 1 set of speed cushions around Lilac Court. Extend corner parking zone at no parking zone at Dundas Street to improve access to Sydenham. And implement alternate side of street parking throughout the year between Grandview and Charing Cross. For Wells Avenue, we're proposing to install 1 set of speed cushions mid-block between Dundas Street and Terrace Hill. So one of the things we've done a number of studies before, during, and after with respect to speed cushions or raised crosswalks we also install. And what we have found is that we see a significant decrease in the vehicle speeds when we install these forms of traffic calming. I believe the most recent one was around 15 kilometers an hour reduction. And it came to about the 85th percentile speed was about 5 kilometers per hour over the posted speed limit, which is quite significant. And I believe that's the limit. Let me just check. And then the last item that we have is to essentially implement a neighborhood-wide 40 kilometer per hour speed limit. And I think the next one. This is just the areas that we were talked about with respect to the parking changes. So then our next steps, of course, pending a resident support, is to move forward with a committee report to the Vision Zero Road Safety Committee, May 25th, which would then go to the City Operations Works Committee meeting, and then of course to Council for final approval. And then going forward, and once all approved, we'd look at the quick wins, anything that is more capital in nature, such as the traffic calming, the speed cushions. We will obviously have to budget for that through the capital budget process. And we would look at implementation of those in 2024. And other than that, if anybody has any questions.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Hopefully you were able to follow through on all that. That was quite a bit of information on one slide there. Maria, you were going to explain the next stage?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. So we've got about 10 people that have joined us in person. Thank you very much for coming downtown and being part of this meeting tonight. And we have 12 folks that are attending virtually. So thank you very much, Dave, for the information presented. If anybody who's here in person wants to ask any questions about the presentation or provide any additional feedback or comments, I would ask you to just come to the delegates table on the right-hand side. And we'll get the microphone put on for you. And we'll just kind of go back and forth, taking turns from the folks that are here in person. And then I'll ask people online who want to make a comment or ask a question to use the raise hand icon. And then I'll bring you in so that you can be part of the discussion tonight. So I'll just ask you to say your name and your address.
My name is I'm on 112 Sydenham Street. And I just want to say, I love what you guys are doing. It's a really dangerous neighborhood I have 3 kids and I can't let them really out of my sight. And especially if I'm in my front yard, I can put them in the backyard and that's great. But backyard only gets them entertained for so long. I'd love to be able to send them to a park. There's a lot of parks close by, but I still have to cross Dundas or cross Terrace Hill to get to them. And it's just too much for a little kid to do. And I'm really happy to know that you guys are looking at the neighborhood through this lens of getting it safer for pedestrians and people who aren't in a car. And to be honest, people who are in cars, I see car accidents pretty much, on my front curb fairly regularly. And it would just be beneficial for everyone to slow down in the Terrace Hill neighborhood. It's a really nice neighborhood. And but I think that kind of, the one vice is the speed, and just the pace of the neighborhood feels like it's too fast for just enjoyment for people who aren't driving around. So anyways, thanks so much for this, and thanks for letting me share my thoughts.
Thank you. How old are your kids?
My kids are 5 to 11.
Oh, very
so perfect age for running around, playing basketball, all that stuff. So yeah. Thanks, guys.
Good idea. Thank you. Anybody else wish to make comment?
My name is Kyle Dancer. I live at 115 Dundas Street. Now, when you use the word speed cushion, is that the same thing that you installed on Forsyth Street? Is that the same type of speed cushion? Or are we talking about something that actually is a cushion?
No, that's what we put on Forsyth on a temporary basis to test it.
Okay.
And the residents there appreciate it, and they want to go to a more permanent speed bump in the future.
So those so-called speed cushions are like speed. I don't know what to say. It destroys your car, and it's really uncomfortable to drive over. Like, I've got in-laws, I've got grandparents. When I try to drive over those speed bumps, it kills their spine. It kills their neck. It's like really rough going over that. Not to mention the wear and tear on your car and your shocks. If there could be some sort of a gradual sling, but because it's so abrupt, it's so hard physically on persons and on their vehicle, I'm really against speed bumps or speed cushions, as you call them. I would say don't install those anywhere. But on the other safety stuff, your signs, your enhanced speed limits, those are fine. But the speed cushions, they're a disaster. I would recommend against those.
Thank you. Okay.
So
Just
I'm
wanna
just
wait a
going to go to online and then I'll come right to you. Okay. So Ryan, go ahead.
Hi, how are you?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead, Ryan.
So I live mid Sydenham, let's call it Dublin Street. I brought up the speed bumps to Mr. Martin during election time. I just want to clarify that they are going to be the ones that are going to be on Forsyth opposed to Grand River Ave. Grand River Ave, you can straddle them and you can drive as fast as you want without feeling any bump whatsoever.
Yeah, so there's two types. So there's speed humps, which are a raised hump that goes completely across the road. Speed cushions are the form that we're talking about, where a vehicle can, well, not a vehicle, essentially transit and emergency services can straddle the hump, fire especially. So those are the types that we use. Fire and emergency services, that is their preferred and supported type of traffic calming. Because they do have a wider wheelbase, they are able to straddle over these humps and be able to get to an emergency in a quicker time period. So those are the types that we are proposing.
So if those are the ones that are being proposed, I would vote those down. They don't do anything. Any pickup truck is the same size as an ambulance. They can travel over those at high rates of speed, and we're trying to slow traffic on Sydenham. If emergency vehicles, I understand, need to get over them, but if you're going to do it or don't do it at all.
Thank you. We'll now go to the person in the chambers.
Hi, my name's Ruth. I'm married to Kyle. And what our major issue is in the neighborhood, we're on Dundas Street, and between 10:30 and 1:30 every single night through the summer, you will have speed racers down that street. And no amount of 30 kilometers an hour or walk signals are going to actually do anything for that speeding that is occurring for those 2-3 hours. Every single night they wake you up because they're the loudest cars that Brantford has, and they just wing it. And what we need is actually speed enforcers for those 3 hours every night on random nights so that you can catch them. Maybe a cop sitting on Wells, just hanging out in a unmarked car, and a cop car down either at Sydenham or at House or at Grand, and whoop, pull them out, and you can get your entire fees paid for the entire year for the chambers. If that's done, you will cut back a lot on a lot of the traffic issues that's happening on Dundas Street. Like, I understand all the cut throughs and the speed bumps on Sydenham and things like that, but Dundas, because it's a thoroughfare for your fire and your ambulance, and also just to get downtown from anywhere on King George and St. Paul, it's an important thoroughfare. So that's fine, but it's the middle of the night that's happening a ridiculous amount of speed and a ridiculous amount of noise. That's the issue.
What were the times again? That
10:30 to 1:30 every night, all summer
Every
long.
night?
As soon as the weather gets nice,
Okay.
it starts happening.
I'm on the police services board, so I'll
Yeah.
make sure they know those times,
And
and
if-
hopefully we can get some enforcement.
You
there.
need a quiet sitter on Wells, and you
Yeah.
have them pull out, because at that stop sign at North Park
North Park.
and Dundas, they stop there and then they just and they go until they get to the hill, right? Yeah, but Wells is so short that you're still having to stop somewhere. But on Dundas, you don't. If you want to make money, you can make it right there.
Thank you.
Council. I just want to add one more thing. So, along with the counselor, we'll also reach out to the police department. We have a good relationship with them, and we'll arrange for some enforcement. The other thing I didn't talk about is council has approved the implementation of community safety zones. As per our policy, schools and playgrounds can be designated as community safety zones, which with enforcement, it results in double fines. So we can also work on adding those. We're also, no, I agree. And as I said, enforcement's required currently. The city is investigating automated speed enforcement. I can tell you based on my previous experience, it is a very effective tool to reduce speeds. So that'll be something that we continue to work on for the future, maybe next year.
Thanks for your comments, and thanks, Dave. I'm going to go to the Q&A. So we're getting some questions from some of the remote attendees through the Q&A online. So John McIntyre asked a couple of questions. Can you provide more details on the proposed development behind Northgate Rental? Is the first question. No? Okay. So we'll go to the next one. Can you provide information about traffic adjustments on Dublin? Dublin is used as a highway between West Street and King George Road. And won't all traffic now go that route to avoid the reduced speed limits that are being put in around it?
Yeah, and so when we do these traffic management plans, that is something we try to be aware of and cognizant of, is what impacts we may have on other roadways. So it might be a case where we need to look at other options. We have proposed speed cushions to help address some of the speed issues and potential problems. And once we implement this, we're done. We'll obviously continue to monitor it and make adjustments if whatever is needed.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else in person? Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Hi, so I'm Cheryl Josie. I live on 128 Dundas Street. And just to tap into, I believe her name was Ruth, that also lives on Dundas. With the speed of cars that are going up and down that street, there is a stop sign at North Park and Dundas Street. But every day we watch this. I know there's been lots of accidents at that intersection, but we watch it on a daily basis where cars just fly on through because they're going so fast. They don't see that stop sign there on coming up the hill. So we've watched them go through it many times and near accidents on at least 10 times a day. So I was wondering if it would be possible on the stop sign maybe to have like a flasher or something, because it seems to be the view is blocked because there's a tree there just a few feet before the stop sign or shortly close to it. So I don't think that they see the stop sign until actually they get up to the stop sign and they just whiz on through there. So I don't know what you mean by the enhanced walkway on that intersection. What is that?
So what we'll be installing is the ladder crosswalks. So they're the bars. So we have two types. We have a standard crosswalk, which is just two lines that you'd probably be familiar with the most. And then we have these ladder crosswalks. It looks like a piano keys that go all the way through the crosswalks and across the road. And so they're more visible to motorists. So when they're approaching an intersection, they see them a little more clearly.
So I feel that won't really solve the problem at that intersection, because when they're coming up there so fast, they don't see the stop sign. So I don't know how expensive it would be just to have like a fluorescent flasher or something that lights so they can see that from the distance, because there's been numerous accidents at that intersection and we watch it daily. So that's my little piece. North Park and Dundas, just the stop signs might need something to be a little more flashier or some kind of light there so that they can. You make, yeah, we we're only out on our porch for a few minutes at a time and they just whiz on by. And it goes along with what Ruth was saying there with the traffic and that seems to be a great speed section. And with the loud cars and the motorcycles, they use it as a raceway right on through there. So it's fairly dangerous. So.
Yeah, you want money for the camera.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe if they see the stop sign, maybe they'll stop possibly.
Could
Thank
you just clarify which direction is it? Like, is it eastbound
It's
that the tree is
coming.
obstructing the stop sign?
Yeah, it's eastbound towards St. Paul.
Okay.
On the right-hand side.
We can ask Parks and Rec to look at the trees
Yeah,
there if they need to
exactly.
be trimmed.
I think they did trim it, but
Yeah.
it's still, it's and how they're
Yeah.
coming and how you come up the hill. I don't know why they don't see it. They run it constantly.
Yeah, we'll get Parks and Rec to check the trees.
Okay, thanks for your comments and feedback. I'm going to go to Bethany online. Are you there, Bethany?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. I just want to say thank you for putting this big presentation together. I actually live on 120 Dundas Street, which is the corner, the T intersection. My front window looks the intersection of North Park and Dundas. I've lived here about 8 years now. I've had many concerns with traffic and speed coming from both directions on Dundas Street. So this is kind of two-part. My one question is, it looks like the proposed area is going to go to a 40 at least. Does that go all the way to St. Paul, where a majority of traffic flow comes from? And so I guess that's my first question.
Yeah, that's correct. It'll go essentially, it goes all the way to the arterial roadways. So any entrance point from the arterials, all those roads would be 40K.
Okay. And I spoke to John Sless when he was actually campaigning in my neighborhood. My children attend a different school and they require a bus to get there. So I've experienced a lot of traffic running the stop sign on the bus. Initially, we had to go to Wells Ave to pick them up. It got too dangerous because of traffic flow from flying down Dundas into Wells Ave. So we switched it to right at the corner of North Park and Dundas. And I personally was almost hit a couple of weeks ago. Someone flying down North Park. And also there's multiple times a week people are actually running the stop sign of my school bus, and we can't. It happens so quickly, we can't get license plates, but I was actually going to just address the speed in the area with someone because I love this neighborhood. I love raising my kids here. I think the biggest thing is the speed and the traffic in front of my house. You just hear the cars inside my house. I can hear the ones that aren't stopping, but I've witnessed extra stop signs put up at this intersection. I've been here a long time, so I just appreciate the efforts that are being made, but this is a big issue here.
Can you tell me the time of day that the school bus is dropping off kids and cars are running the stop sign?
Yeah. My sons get dropped off at 3:50.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Back to in person.
Ed Southcote, 47 High Street. We're close to the corner of High Street and Princess where they come together. A few years ago, we had issues with vehicles, large vehicles like fire trucks and school buses, unable to navigate the corner because of the cars parked on the street. So a few years ago, I assume your department put up some no parking signs close to the corner to keep the corner clear of parked cars, and it worked well. We had construction last year and the street was replaced, and the signs have not yet been replaced. The second issue we've noticed is that when they reconstructed High Street, they made the street a fair bit narrower. And through the winter time, we noticed that, say, city plows were driving over the sidewalks because they couldn't get around the corner. And we see the same thing, maybe a little bit worse now with large vehicles like a school bus. They typically have trouble getting around the corner because the street's a fair bit narrower. And so I'm giving you, I guess, two requests. One is we'd love to get the signs back up that were there. And maybe we need some adjustment or addition to the signs to accommodate the fact that the street's narrower, a little bit tougher to navigate the corner.
Thank you for those comments. We are aware those signs weren't installed by the contractor, so they are going to be put back. It's one of the deficiencies that has been identified. But we can certainly look at extending that parking restriction a bit.
Yeah, I even question on both sides in the winter time, because in the winter time, I know the plows just can't get through no matter where the cars are parked.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I'm going to go back online to Justin Murray. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you, Justin.
Okay,
Go ahead.
perfect. Okay, I actually heard of a recent resident talking about Sydenham and Dublin. I also live very close to that intersection. The stop signal that the city put in at one time doesn't work. You can put up signs all you want, but unless someone enforces it, nothing's going to happen. Speed limit, stop signs. I'm sitting here right now, just watched a Jeep roll right through the intersection. I'll be honest, I live right at the intersection. So when I'm backing out or pulling in, there's been numerous times I've almost had head-on collisions or someone's hit my tail end as I'm backing out because they don't stop. And the speed's way too fast. There needs to be some enforcement done around the whole subdivision, Dublin, Dundas, Terrace Hill, because nothing's happening. Unless someone gets a slap on the wrist and they understand that someone's watching, it's gonna keep on happening. Kids gonna get hurt, someone's gonna get killed.
Yeah, we're working on a automated speed enforcement system. Unfortunately, it's not up and running yet, but we hope to have that running soon. And we can set that up in community safety zones, which school zones automatically become. So there's a number of school zones in this area. So we'll get the cameras to cycle through. Once people get a few tickets, hopefully they'll start slowing down everywhere, but it's going to take a little while, but hopefully we'll get the cameras operating fairly soon. Anything else?
Yeah, my girlfriend had called the police and they said they were gonna increase presence and I didn't see them at all. So yeah, I understand they can't just sit here and watch and wait for people to roll through a stop sign in a residential area. They have bigger fish to fry, but you know, it's just kind of ridiculous. You guys are welcome to come and sit in my driveway for a week if you want and just watch the amount of people that just blow through the stop sign. It's ridiculous. So if you put speed limits up, do you think they're going to look at that either, right? So I understand what you guys are trying to do, and I appreciate that you're looking at the whole subdivision here. But yeah, some people just are ignorant to the facts.
Yeah, unfortunately, the more stop signs we put up, the more people run them.
Exactly.
They're unwarranted.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Road ride. I've been on Wells Ave now for 35 years. And I'm really surprised nobody's actually been killed on that street. It's crazy. It connects North Park, turn left, and then Wells, and then you turn right, go down McMurray. So it's a huge shortcut in Brantford. I was going to ask about the speed bumps, or are they like the rubber ones that aren't that big? Like I think I've seen them before. The speed cushions. They're
so what we're proposing would be permanent.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the rubber ones or the temporary ones. They'd be constructed out of asphalt. As I mentioned, the speed cushions, they come in sort of sections.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually 3 of them across a roadway. So those are the ones that we're proposing.
Okay. So there'd be about 2-3 of them right in the middle of the street.
They come for Wells. We're saying 1 set. So it'd be at 1 section of the roadway. You'd have these 3 speed cushions that go completely across the road.
Yeah, I think they have them in Paris. I think like behind the Willet there in one of them streets. I don't know if I think I've seen them before. They're not really rough like the big cement ones, eh?
We've got a few examples in Brantford too.
Yeah.
As mentioned, there's a couple down on Grand River Avenue on the bend. And there's a set on Johnson Road too, between Colburn Street and Brant County Road 18. If you want to check them out, that's what we're proposing to do in the neighborhood.
I got no problem with them on my street, but the bigger the better. For there, sorry. I was gonna, is there any way you could get like a no left turn either at one end of the street or the other end of the street, like they do on Blossom Ave there? And there's a couple other streets that have that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can look at. Our experience would be that unless we have enforcement, it usually gets ignored, but definitely something we can look into.
But it helps. So some places like Blossom Ave, I haven't turned left on that yet since they put that sign there. So people see it, eh? Okay.
What would you think about making Wells one way?
Oh, who said that? Oh, one way. Yeah. Geez, that slipped my, I've been mentioning that for over 30 years. Yeah. And they said, I'd have no problem with that myself. I'm not sure about the hospital, like with the ambulances, but if there's an emergency, they could probably carefully go up a one way if they had to. But I think they can use McClure too.
Yeah, they could use McClure. So yeah,
what's that?
They could use McClure.
Yeah, McClure. Yeah, is actually closer to the emergency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be all for that one way.
Something to consider
for sure.
Thank you.
And maybe a stop sign right in the middle of the street too. No, I better not push it.
That's one people would run every time.
We were with you till that.
Okay, I'm going to go to a couple of questions online. So one of them from June Wilson in the Q&A chat. Have you changed the specific parking on Lilac Court that was previously established?
No, we have not made any changes to Lilac Court.
Okay, I'm going to do one more since that one was quick. From Deanna, parking on Sydenham at Dundas, could no parking here to corner signs be added and or be moved further from the corner?
Yep, that was one of our recommendations and we received that same feedback in response to the letter that we sent out. So we are definitely going to do that. No problem.
Excellent. 2 for 2. Okay, you're on.
You live at 128 Dundas Street. I just wanted you to clarify the parking from McClure to North Park on Dundas. I heard you say something about 2 hour.
Yeah, so that request came in from a few residents on Dundas Street and it's a common request we've had.
That'd be great.
It's people not wanting to pay for parking at the hospital, so they park in the neighborhood streets, and it takes all the parking away from the residents.
Right.
So it is somewhat contentious. It's restrictive, obviously, and you do have to get a permit. So our recommendation in this report to council was just to survey the residents. And if that's what the majority of residents are supportive, then we'll certainly recommend.
So will it be just like on Wells Ave then? Like you have a permit and you
Yeah, we've done it on, and then there's a lot of streets on the west side of St. Paul, like Lyons Avenue has it, 2 hour restriction with time limit exemption for residents. So same idea.
Yeah, but do the residents pay for their own like pass or something or?
Yeah, it's $36 a year, I think. So it's not,
no, that's okay.
But so it limits the number.
It's not so much the people visiting the hospital, it's the workers. Like we see them all the time in the scrubs for 12, 14 hour shifts.
Yep.
In that parking spot, right? So
Okay.
No, that'd be great.
Okay, perfect.
Right,
Thanks.
So I'm going to go to another question from Tamara. Is there any discussion regarding the intersection at Sydenham and Charing Cross? There have been many accidents there and it is difficult to make a left-hand turn onto Charing.
Yeah, so through this process, we haven't identified any changes at that intersection. We do have a separate road safety program that is operating. where we do look at collisions across the entire city, identifying high locations, and that becomes our focus. So if it pops up through that process, then we would be doing some type of road safety audit at that intersection.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else in the room want to ask any other questions or provide any other comments? Okay, yeah, Ryan had another question, so go ahead, Ryan.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, just to further Justin's comments, I will agree that that stop sign is very rarely stopped at by traffic, either rolling stops or just straight through. I talked to Mr. Martin there during election time and actually emailed him previous to election time about that, and I got the same answer, that they will increase enforcement. I too have not seen a single police vehicle in this area doing any sort of thing to stop the traffic or even watch the stop sign. I have several friends that are on the police force, and I ask them and they more or less just say, yeah, it's not a priority. So I don't know if it's falling on deaf ears or whatnot, but that would be my concern as well, same as Justin's. Something needs to be done to stop cars. Like I said, I don't think those speed cushions are going to work because they can drive around them, straddle them. And then I also have a question in the Q&A about parking at North Park and Dublin. They have both side parking, and it's absolutely crazy to go through there. There's pickup trucks on both sides of the road, and your mirrors almost hit their vehicles while you're driving by. Is there any plans to go to one side parking in that stretch of the road between Grand and North Park?
I think that's the section where it's seasonal alternate side of street parking, and we're going to look at doing it year round. So yes, parking would be restricted to one side throughout the year.
That's excellent.
Alternate side.
I would also like to thank you guys and the staff and the council for putting this together to hear our concerns.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay. Second speaking opportunity. No problem.
You know, gets in your head. So like on Lauren Ave, you have a bunch of huge humps which span like the whole car as you go over it. You know what I mean? When you're driving, like it's almost like a speed hump, but it's like as big as a car. So you're going up and then over and then down.
On Dufferin Avenue.
Oh, sorry.
Dufferin Avenue?
No, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking on top of the hill, like beside, anyways, in the rich area. Those kind of speed bump, I feel like those will slow traffic and not destroy the bottom of your car. So something like that on Wells might even be better because they do still have to go up and over and you can't wing it through, but it doesn't destroy your car and it's easier for a plow to go over. And it's not like a temporary measure, it's a full thing instead of having the little skinny ones. And also, can we elevate that whole intersection between North Park and Dundas, that T that comes there? Can we elevate it so that when people are coming up to it, they see the stop sign that's blinking, then they have that colored section on the road and you're kind of banking up and then, I don't know, just the thinking. Yeah.
That intersection.
Yeah, I think you're actually referring to a raised intersection.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something we can definitely look at. I think it's clear that a number of you have raised an issue with that location, so we can definitely look at that.
Is there anybody else who's joining us remotely that had another question or comment? You can use the raise hand icon. Yep, come on. forward, sir. Thank you.
I'm back. All I wanted to say was, I think speed bumps are made for people to slow down, and the slower you go, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about any damage. I've been over them, like unless you got one of those little, them little Hondas that are this high above the ground, maybe that'll slow them down. That's for sure, flying down my street. Or rip the exhaust right off their car if they don't slow down. That's the only comment I'd like to make. As far as Wells Ave, I don't know if that would work like a rising one. Slow people down, I guess. I don't know. Something similar to Dufferin Ave, maybe. Is that what they have in Dufferin? Traffic narrowing, and they've got the big speed bump.
Dufferin Avenue, which the other lady was talking about, is it's raised intersections. And,
raised
and
intersections.
speed humps. So speed humps go right across the road, whereas speed cushions have the gaps in them, so emergency vehicles can go through.
Oh, right.
So yes, there are, like, if you have a passenger car, you can kind of straddle them, but you still have to go over at least one of them. So in most cases, you're going to have to slow down.
What's going to slow you down the most? The hump or those speed cushions?
I drive a small car, so it would affect me equally the same. But larger vehicles, like ambulances and
just a regular
trucks,
car. Regular car.
They'd be the same.
About the same?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I want to ask. Thank you.
I sometimes think some of those cars don't have mufflers to lose over the humps.
Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, Ryan online again. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just want to add to the comment the gentleman from Wells just spoke about. Those speed humps on Grand River Ave, take a drive down Grand River Ave. You can drive almost any vehicle over them with very little discomfort and not slow down at all. So I respect what the staff's saying, but yes, it's good for emergency vehicles, but an ambulance is nothing but a F-350 and they can go over them no problem. So can any pickup truck or any wide framed car. That is all.
I'll definitely have to check that out. Any more online?
No. And we've answered all the questions in the Q&A.
Okay. And seeing nobody in chambers coming forward. Thank you very much, everyone, both in person and online. I think it was a good meeting. We got some good feedback. We got some more things to follow up on, and hopefully we can start on some of the easier things soon, and some of the more difficult ones might take a little longer, but hopefully we'll get to them. And if you didn't sign in when you come in, please sign in before you leave. Thank you very much, everyone.